everyone, my name is Fatma Kurnia Maharani. Today I will read a text. Let's practice reading. Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a little girl named Little Red Riding Hood. She was very sweet and kind. Her grandmother was very old and lived alone in the woods outside of town. Every week, Little Red Riding Hood would bring her grandmother some food and other supplies to help her get by. One day, Little Red Riding Hood was walking through the woods on her way to her grandmother's house. As she was walking, she suddenly heard a low growling sound that made her heart beat a little faster. She stopped and peered around, but did not see anything. She started walking again, but as she did, the growling got louder. Little Red Riding Hood looked around again, and this time she saw a large black shadow disappearing into the trees. Little Red Riding Hood was worried, but she knew that she had to deliver her grandmother's supplies. So she gathered her courage and continued walking. She rounded a bend and saw her grandmother's house. She breathed a sigh of relief and ran the rest of the way. When Little Red Riding Hood reached the house, she was greeted by a large and rather gruff-looking wolf. Little Red Riding Hood was terrified and began to back away. But the wolf just smiled and said, "Don't be afraid, Little Red Riding Hood. I'm not here to harm you. I'm not here to harm you. I was sent by Grandmother to help you deliver her supplies." Little Red Riding Hood could hardly believe her ears. She couldn't understand why her grandmother had sent a wolf to help her, but she was so relieved that she accepted the wolf's offer. Together, the two of them carried the supplies to the house. When Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf arrived at the house, her grandmother was waiting for them. She said to the wolf, "Thank you for helping my Little Red Riding Hood. I'm so glad to see you again." The wolf smiled and said, "It is my pleasure, grandmother." Little Red Riding Hood could hardly believe her eyes. She realized that the wolf was actually a handsome prince who had been turned into a wolf by a wicked witch. Little Red Riding Hood was so happy that she had been able to help the prince break the spell. Her grandmother gave them both a warm embrace and thanked them both for helping her. Little Red Riding Hood and the prince spent the rest of the day together, talking and laughing. In the evening, they said their goodbyes and Little Red Riding Hood went back to town with a heart full of joy. From then on, Little Red Riding Hood and the prince were the best of friends. They spent time together as often as they could, and the prince even visited the Little Riding Hood's grandmother often to make sure she was doing well. Little Red Riding Hood has discovered a tale of courage, kindness, and friendship. She was grateful for all her experience in the woods and was now sure that with a little courage and a lot of heart, she could do anything. Thank you, that's all from me.